We'll start with looking at a new table I added called order analysis to my database. Order analysis is a combination of multiple tables that gives every bit of information you'd need about a specific line item for every order. What we're going to key on for this demo is the employee information. So if we look here, we have the employee ID, the employee name, last name, title, etc. And we're going to learn how to use that with stored procedures. So I've added 3 new stored procedures. I have order price by category, order price by employee, and orders by employee. For these stored procedures, what I've done is I've taken that large table, which has a couple thousand rows, and I've just returned information that I need. So if I run order price by employee, I'm going to get the employee ID, the total dollar amount of all of their orders, the average, the minimum, and the maximum. So what this will do is use the power of the database. The recommendation for reveal, and of course all of your data work, is let the database do as much as possible. Don't return all these datas to the client or the application and let it do things like aggregations, which could be very quickly done by the database engine. So instead of returning 2,000 rows with 50 columns, I'm just returning here 8 or 9 rows of information that I can use in a dashboard. And likewise, orders by employee, we'll change this to orders by employee, and I'm going to pass the employee ID parameter, and we'll say equals 3 for one of the sales folks, and now it just returns the information for employee ID number 3, which is Janet Leverling. Now, again, the reason I'm doing this is certainly we could let Reveal do this in the application layer, but why would we? Why would we put the additional burden, all of that extra work on the app layer when you can let the database do it in a second? So it took the query to execute in 1 second, and this is a free Azure tier, so it would take literally milliseconds in a real production environment. So how would we use these stored procedures in Reveal? We're going to continue on with our Reveal SDK sample that we've been using before. I'm going to delete these 2 guys here. We did invoices and orders, and we're going to change the IDs coming in to the names of our stored procedures, which we'll take a look at in a minute. So I'm going to say employee price by category, order price by employee. And similar to before where we did a .table or a .custom query, I'm going to say SQL DSI, and I'm going to just say procedure equals order price by category. So let's just Control C. We'll paste that in, and that is all we need to do. And we will do the same thing here. So I'm going to say SQL DSI.procedure equal, and we'll change this to employee. So I'm referencing the stored procedure just like I would a .table or a .custom query. .custom query would be select star or select field name from table name. This is just a little bit different. So I have here my 2 stored procedures. This is actually ready to go. I don't need to add anything additional on the server to make this work. On the client, in our HTML file, I already added our data source items that we're going to use. So I have order price by employee, order price by category, and then the third one that we're going to add is the order details by employee, which is the stored procedure with an employee ID parameter. But let's go ahead and run the server for these 2 guys first, and we'll look at the results, and we'll go over to our client. I'm going to right-click, view this in the browser, and I'm going to click plus visualization. Here I have my order summary by employee, order summary by category. Let's go ahead and grab this, and we end up in the visualization editor. I'll grab a grid, and I'll just drag all of my fields over like so, and that's exactly what we would have seen in the query editor that we looked at in Azure. So now if I just want to do a nice chart, so let's do a column chart, and I will get rid of that, and I will use the employee name. So now I have a nice chart, order summary by employee, and this is the absolute most efficient way to get this information from the database down to the client. And I'll do another visualization here. We'll do by category. So similar, let's start out with the grid, and you can see I have the same type of data here. Let's go ahead and change this to a column chart, and I am going to use total, and we will use the product category. So now I have by employee and by category. So two really nice charts, and in this case, maybe I want this to look a little bit better. I don't want the rotated labels, so I'm going to change this to a bar chart like so, and everything lines up nicely. So with that, I use two stored procedures, just return the data that I needed, and it's giving me all of the information I need for my employee summary and my category summary. So let's close this out, and let's go ahead and update our server for our parameterized stored procedure. So I will just copy this. We're going to do the same thing that we did earlier. I'm going to change this to orders by employee, and that is what is in the client. So here I have orders by employee. My stored procedure is going to be orders by employee. So how do we add a parameter? Well, we add a parameter by adding a dictionary object with the collection of parameters that are required. So I'm going to say SQL DSI dot procedure parameters equals a new dictionary like so. And we're going to let our IntelliSense do a little magic there for us. I'll delete that one, and let's delete that one. And I'm just going to say at employee ID, and I'm going to pass it the parameter, and we'll just hard code the number 3 for now. And we're going to look at in the next video how to use parameters from the client in stored procedures, which is usually what you're going to end up doing, because something like the employee ID will be probably the logged in user. So how do I get that logged in user information and then pass it as a parameter? So let's go ahead and run this. And we'll bring up our client again. I'll open this up in the default browser. We'll hit plus visualization, order details by employee ID. And let's do a grid. And we'll do employee ID. And what do we get back? Just all of the invoice details for this particular employee. So a lot of information here. And in this case, probably a good visualization to do would be a line chart. And I am going to add order date. And there's my order date. And we'll do order quantity. And this is by year. How about we do that by month? So there we go. We have orders, details by employee. So these are orders by month. And I can add a new visualization here. Let's do the same stored procedure. And I'm going to add a text view. And I'm going to have the employee name, the employee country, and the employee title. So now on my dashboard, I can start building out individual visualizations, and this is Janet Lieverling's information, and this is the order details for Janet Lieverling. And that's how easy it is to use stored procedures and parameterize stored procedures in Reveal.